What if you could never lie? Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that something fundamental has changed. Your words, your expressions, even the small little phrases you use every day. Suddenly, none of them can bend the truth. Every single thing you say must be completely honest. At first, it might sound kind of noble. After all, honesty is one of those values we're told to practice since childhood. But in reality, it would be absolute chaos. Take the most ordinary morning routine. You walk into your kitchen and your roommate asks, "Hey, do you like the breakfast I made?" Under normal circumstances, you'd glance at the burnt toast and watery eggs and say, "Yeah, it's great, thanks." But now, you hear yourself saying, "This tastes like sadness and regret on a plate." Congratulations, you've just started your day by insulting someone you live with. The truth-only rule would ripple through every part of life. Politicians? They'd never survive. Imagine a press conference where, instead of promising to improve the economy, a leader says, "Actually, we have no idea what we're doing, and we're mostly trying to get re-elected." Stock markets would collapse not because of bad policies, but because no one would buy the carefully polished speeches anymore. The entire advertising industry would vanish overnight. Every billboard, every commercial, every influencer post would suddenly become brutally honest. "This soda won't make you cooler. It just has a lot of sugar, and you'll probably get cavities." Try selling that. Social relationships would be even messier. Dating would basically transform into a gladiatorial arena of honesty. The moment someone asks, "So, why didn't you call me back?" you wouldn't be able to say, "Oh, I was busy." Instead, you'd blurt out, "Because I didn't feel like spending time with you." First dates would last about 15 minutes, after which both people would quietly shake hands and admit, "This isn't going anywhere." On the bright side, at least ghosting would disappear completely. Workplaces would turn into battlegrounds. Your boss asks if you're happy with your job. You'd say, "No, I secretly Google other job openings every lunch break." Your colleague asks if you read their 40-page report. "I skimmed the first paragraph, then played Candy Crush." Productivity might improve because people would stop wasting time pretending. But office friendships would die faster than your phone's battery at 2%. But it wouldn't all be disasters. There's something powerful about a world without lies. Courts, for example, would instantly become the most efficient institutions in human history. Trials that normally drag on for years would be over in hours. "Did you steal the car?" "Yes." Case closed. International diplomacy would be complicated. Picture two world leaders meeting. One says, "We're only here because we want your oil." The other replies, "We already know, and we're planning to double-cross you anyway." The United Nations would need to invest heavily in conflict mediators, or maybe just really good earplugs. And children, of course, would thrive in this environment. They're already little truth machines. A 4-year-old has no issue announcing in public that grandma smells funny or daddy is bald. If everyone else had to live like that, the world would essentially become a giant kindergarten. But maybe that's not entirely bad. Imagine politics, business, and culture stripped down to the simplicity of playground rules. If you don't like someone, you just say it to their face and move on. Still, human beings don't just use lies to manipulate. Sometimes we lie to protect, to comfort, to soften the edges of life. You tell your friend their haircut looks fine, even if it doesn't, because you don't want to crush them. You tell a child the scary thunder is just clouds playing drums, because the truth would only terrify them more. Without these small lies, life would feel brutally sharp. Every moment would sting a little more, because there's no cushioning against reality. Eventually, society might adapt. Maybe we'd learn to communicate in more careful ways, choosing silence where we once chose small lies. Maybe radical honesty would become a kind of new art form, with people competing to tell the truth in the kindest possible words. Or maybe everyone would just stop asking questions altogether, because they wouldn't want to hear the answers. So, what if you could never lie? The world would probably collapse in on itself for a while. Relationships destroyed, careers ended, governments crumbling. But after the dust settled, we might find ourselves living in a society that's rawer, harsher, but strangely more authentic. Or maybe deep down, we'd realize that lies, those tiny, fragile, everyday lies, are not just flaws in our system. They're the glue that holds civilization together.